Hello, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video with me. I will be continuing today the discussion on English syntax. So, welcome back again. This is English syntax, ELS 105, and today I will be discussing about the rest of the chapter 2 of the book English Syntax by Kim and Sells in 2008. So I will be talking about that today. So here you can see um, lecture 4. So I will be discussing the subtopics in lecture 4. So I'll be talking about phrasal categories, phrase structure rules, and a little bit of grammar with phrases. So basically, I will focus on how to categorize phrasal categories or how to characterize a phrase as a constituent or a phrase, and I will be also trying to answer and help you answer some of your assignment in lecture 4 or in assignment 4. So let's get started. So this is the pages of the chapter or the parts of the chapter 2 for from words to major phrase types. This is from pages 19 to 26 of the book that we are currently using. So let's start right away with this one. So first we are going to talk about phrasal categories. So what are phrasal categories, or what is a phrase? So in this instance, in this book, we would most likely use the term constituent, because the grouping of words into larger phrasal units are also called constituents. So do not misinterpret or misunderstood the word constituent, because basically it's in the previous chapter it's been discussed. Constituent also refers to a larger phrasal unit. Okay, because we know a phrase is more likely 2 or 3 words in a phrase, but there are phrasal units bigger than those one, which contains more than 3 or 4 words in one phrase. So that's why they are called constituents. So we have different ways to identify those phrasal categories which are present in a sentence, or which are present in that certain category. So let's start first with this one. So we have here an example. The student enjoyed his English syntax last semester. So most probably in this sentence, there are certain constituents that you can locate depending on depending on the length, rather, of the number of words in that phrase or in that constituent. So for example, in letter A, we have like two main constituents or two main phrase. The other one has a sub phrase within that phrase. Like for example, the student is a phrase, enjoyed his English syntax class last semester is one phrase, and within that one phrase we can also identify a constituent or a phrase is English syntax class last semester, which is what do we mean by phrasal? A phrase, a constituent. It means it has a single thought in it, a complete independent thought in that phrase. That's why we call it constituent or phrasal, or a phrase rather. So let's take a look at some of the salient syntactic phenomena which refer directly to constituents or phrases. So there are ways to identify that a group of words is a phrase or a constituent. So let's start first with the cleft construction. So a cleft places an emphasized or focus element in the X position in the pattern. It is or was X that to provide simple evidence for the existence of phrasal units. For example, let's have the sentence, the police met several young students in the park last night. So with no difficulty, we can cleft almost all the constituent we can get from the above sentence. Let's start first with a policeman, which is a constituent. So let's try to put that in the X exposition in this pattern, it was X or it is X that. So, for example, it was X or the policeman that met several young students in the park last night. So we can clearly identify that the policeman is a constituent itself or a phrase in itself, a valid or grammatical phrase in itself because it can be placed in the X part of the pattern. It was X or it is X that. Okay, so with several young students, it was several young students that met the policeman met in the park last night. So it has the same thought, only that um, this phrase several young students was placed in the position of the X to make it to test the validity of it being a constituent or being a phrase. So that easy, just like that. Another salient syntactic what you call that phenomena to identify a group of words as a phrase or a constituent is through constituent questions in standalone text. So to further support the existence of phrasal categories that can be found in answers to constituent questions, which involve WH word questions such as who, where, when, how, or for any given WH question, the answer can be either a full sentence or a fragment. This standalone fragment is a constituent. So for example, where did the police meet several young students in the park? So that in itself can be considered as a constituent. Another, who or whom did the police meet in the park? Several young students, which also answers that this group of words is indeed a phrase or a constituent. Now, this kind of test can be of use in determining constituents. For example, John put old books in the box. Are either old books in the box or put old in the box a constituent? Are all the smaller constituents? The who question test can provide some answers. For example, from this sentence, let's ask the question, what did you put in your box? Old books. So you can't definitely answer old books in a box. That's not a constituent or a valid phrase. Next, where did you put the book in the box? And you can't definitely not answer old books in the box, right? So next, what did you do? Put old books. That's like that's ungrammatical in a sense. Put in the box. That's somehow ungrammatical as well. Put old books in the box. That's more answer the question, what did you do? Put old books where? Put in the box what? So it answers the question, what did you do? Put old books in the box. Next, another test to identify that a group of words is a phrase or a constituent is through substitution by pronoun. So English, like most languages, have a system for referring back to individuals or entities mentioned by the use of pronouns, and this is what we call antecedent, or referring to something in the next, from the previous sentence to the next sentence or phrase. For instance, the man who is standing by the door can be substituted by the pronoun he. For example, what do you think the man who is standing by the door is doing now? So we can substitute or replace that long constituent or phrase into just the pronoun he. Another example, there are other pronouns such as there, so, as, which also refers back to constituents, like this one. Have you been to Seoul? I have never been there. Have you been there? Where? So we can identify to Seoul. John might go home, so might Bill. So so the word so also refers to go home. Okay? All right. Okay, so let's proceed. A pronoun also cannot be used to refer back to something that is not constituent. For example, John asked me to put the clothes in the cupboard to annoy him. I really stuffed them there. There could be misleading. It could be the clothes, it could be the cardboard, or something else. Okay, so we cannot just identify We cannot just use pronoun to, start replacing constituent in a sentence. So there might be cases that it will be misleading, like just like this one. Jan asked me to put the clothes in a cardboard, but I did so. So put the clothes in the suitcase. So both the pronoun there and them refer to constituents. Um, this one and this one. However, so in letter C, referring to VP, put the clothes refers only part of the constituents put the clothes, making it unacceptable. Okay, so there are some instances that we can use substitution by pronoun to identify the category, not the category, to identify if whether a group of words is a phrase or a constituent. And the last test is coordination. So words and phrases can be coordinated by conjunctions, and each conjunct is typically the same kind of constituent as the other conjunct. So this refers to um, combining longer sentences. Okay, for instance, in a longer sentences where there are three or more constituent or phrases in that sentences, then you can definitely identify which phrase is valid or acceptable if you can combine them, if and only if they have the same thought or they are the same kind. For examples, the girl played in the water and swam under the bridge. So these two are valid constituents because they are of the same category, which is verb phrase. They started with the word verb, and also the other one started with a verb. Okay, so now let's proceed to phrase structure rules. So I'm pretty much sure that you've done this in Introduction to Linguistics, Introduction to the English Language. You've done this a lot, so I will no longer press about this. This part of discussion, because I'm pretty much sure you've known about this, but it's very important. If you are not sure that you know about this, you have to review this as much as possible. Okay, so it's a very good refresher for you guys, especially that we've been stagnant for a long time, that we have to review a little bit also. Now there are different kinds of writing three structure diagrams, and I would not be strict about it. So there are some who uses or who would like to write their phrase structure rules as this one, where they could just input the words or the phrases or constituents right here. And there are also some who just write it below and then use a line to directly connect those ones in on the words below, and I'm totally okay with that. Both ways of writing the three structure rules are okay with me, as long as just they are correct. That's the most important part in phrase in three structure writing rather. Okay, so let's go jump right into this one. Let's go with grammar with phrase structures. Oh no, we're done with that already. Okay, so we have here different. Okay, so we have seen earlier that the grammar with lexical categories is not adequate for capturing the basic properties of the language. However, we do get with a grammar which includes phrases. So a set of PS rules or phrase structure rules, some of which have already been seen. So these are the examples that is in the previous part of this chapter. And so you can also review a little bit about PS rules, how to write PS rules. It's always important that if you write, for example, a VP, the broader VP in the sentence, you can, which includes a verb, the NP, another NP, and a PP. It's always important that you identify that as the head of that combination of B, NP, PP pattern. So we have to take note of that, because sometimes we just go directly identify the identify the subparts before going into the deeper, not deeper, the more easier parts of writing this one, which is directly, I think, this one. sometimes we might forget to write these headings right here. We just go directly with this one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that is not cool. That is actually not appropriate. So we have to avoid that one. Just like this one. John believes Mary thinks Tom is honest. So there are headings of those smaller constituents, which compose of smaller constituents or phrases in that sentence. So that's it. If you have questions, you can just ask uh, in our group chat and comment or message me privately. So let's try now to answer some of your assignments. So let's start with number 1. This is for assignment 4. Check if the italic parts form a constituent or not, using at least 2 constituenthood tests: Cleft, pronoun, substitute, standalone, and conjunction. Also provide tree structure for each of the following examples. So let's have first this one. John puts a book on the table. So the first phrase is a book on the table. So let's identify if it's a constituent or not. So let's use first the Cleft test. It was a book on the table that John brought. Correct. Next pronoun. John bought it. Correct. Also, we can replace this phrase or constituent by the pronoun it. Let's do standalone. What did John bought? A book on the table, and that is correct. We can't actually apply conjunction because there's only one italic part. So this is a yes. Yes, it's a constituent. The second one, John put a book on the table. A book on the table. Okay, so it's the same, just they just have the different verbs. So what did it was a book on the table that John put. So you can this might not sound right using the Cleft test because it was the action verb was actually referring to the action of putting something on some place. Okay, so the effect or direct object of the verb is actually the table, on the table. Where did John put the table? So we can, although we can identify that this phrase is is indeed a constituent because of pronoun substitution. For example, John put it, John put them, or something. Stand alone. What did John put? A book on the table, and other if there is, and that's it. Okay, so I hope that's clear enough. So how are you going to 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 explain that in your assignment or in your answer? So just have to explain or give examples of using this substitution or this constituenthood test in your paper. For example, number 1, this sentence, John puts blah 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 using Cleft, blah 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 blah. Is it or you can just write a box on the right side of each test, for example. Then you can just check. If not wrong, then explain conclusion, for example, or final answer. The italic phrase blah 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 is indeed a constituent because it passes to blah 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 constituenthood test, just like that. Okay, so it's actually very easy if you just be creative with how you present your answers. Next, let's try to do number 2. Provide a tree structure for each of the following sentences and suggest what kind of BP rules are necessary. Doing so, pay attention to the position of modifiers like proudly, by the park, and so forth. Okay, let's try to do letter A. John puts, oh my God, let me try to write in a text. John refused the offer proudly. Now let's try to make now. Let's try to write first the verb phrase. Okay, so this is the verb phrase, I believe. This is the verb phrase, the bigger rather. Okay, so we have this one, and this is the verb. This is another determiner, and what's this one? Determiner and a noun. And this one is an adverb. So this is an NP, and up that NP we have the VP, and up that NP is an N, up that noun is an NP, and so we have also, oh my goodness, and also we have the bigger one, which is, let me try to do it one more time. Up that NP is this one. Oh, I can't move it. There. Okay, this one is an NP basically. Okay, or just the sentence. Just the sentence. Okay, so in the sentence we have the NP or the noun, which is John. We also have here on the other side the VP, which constitutes the verb refused, and compared, and together with the VP is also the NP on the other side, which constitutes the NP and the ADVP, which is divided. The NP first is divided into the determiner, which is the noun offer. Then we have on the other side adverbial phrase, which we have the adverb proudly. Okay, so I hope that's clear. My drawing actually is not clear, and I'm totally I totally agree with that, but I hope you understand that's how we write a tree structure for each of these sentences. Easy, right? I hope it's easy for you guys. I had a lot of fun, and I hope that you can also have fun, answering the assignments and the quizzes that I've provided to you guys, and I hope that you understand. If you have any more questions, do not forget or do not hesitate to message me right away, as I will try my best as much as possible to answer them and make your life make our lives more easier. So that's it for now. Thank you so much. See you on the next video. Bye bye.